Now, looking back through that wonderful period and the time you were at the club, who did you individually enjoy playing with the most? Who was your sort of favourite to be with? Yeah, you can exclude each other, of course.
Well, funnily enough, Lee, Steve and I didn't actually play too many games together, did we, Steve?
No, well, mainly those 3 years when I came back. Yeah,
so probably 30 or 40.
I think, there's the one. Well, in terms of fun, enjoying playing with it, it's the characters and the people that you by your side all through the journey. Whether it's Chipper, or Ronnie Brents, the sort of characters, Gus. There's so many people at the club that through the years you sort of played alongside or so there's that aspect of it, just the real characters and the people that you truly got close to on and off the field, and then of course there's the players that were the Rowans and the Gammonies and so on. I mean, I really enjoyed playing with Gammony. Like one aspect was Scott would be keeping and I'm fielding at short leg. And we're both there just, salivating, just waiting. You just knew something was going to happen, and as a short leg, I'd field as close as I possibly could. I had no fear because I just knew the batsmen weren't going to have much idea, So, it's both the characters that have been in and out of the club over the years and that you enjoyed just being around. And then, of course, you enjoyed playing with those guys that just had super talents, Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think Chip and Carpy, I played a lot of cricket with Chip and Carpy over the journey. And, they're absolute Preston stalwarts and recognised, greats of the club. Ringer, obviously, Dave Norris, a lot of fun in the twos. I was recollecting my first sort of, when Dave or Chipper and then Dave took on the captaincy in the twos, it wasn't uncommon for us to meet at a hotel before a game. And it was a bit of an eye-opener for me, but I thought, well, hey, heck, we're winning, and we had a great side, so I'm more than happy to go along with it. And then even legends like Bear, getting to keep the Bear in his latter years and a couple of games in the ones when Nort was unavailable. And then later on in like we said, in the golden years with Hobbs coming in and the Sri Lankan connection, those guys were absolute guns. As a keeper, I knew I wasn't going to bat half the time, so I'd just sit in the grandstand and chirp away and have fun because you knew that the batting had so much depth.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Eddie, Scotty. Because we both had opportunities. It was probably towards the back part of Eddie's career. Certainly when I was in the ones, it was towards the end of his career, and then I think he went and played a few years in the twos as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, would have played in some of those
premierships.
Premierships. Yeah, and he was just a real character, a lovable bloke. Yeah.
Who did you enjoy playing against?
Me personally, I don't know why, but I always used to enjoy playing against Ivanhoe. For that matter, probably all those local clubs to Preston, like Coburg and Brunswick. Whether it was sort of you wanted to be the strongest team in that sort of geography. It might have been because like in the early days, because when I was playing in the ones, like Ronnie Brents was in the ones and had been ex-Ivanhoe. And, there was sort of a little bit of, he was always colourful, and played the game really competitively, which I enjoyed. But I can distinctly recall, Scott, I can't remember what it was, a semi-final, I think, in one year where we played them at Preston. And I think we pretty much beat them on the first day. Rolled them for bugger all, and then got out there and went, not many down for almost their score. So I don't think we went on to win the premiership, but we beat them, which was good enough.
Yeah, and I think I agree. I'd written down some notes. Ivanhoe, Brunswick, Broadmeadows and Coburg. Coburg were generally easy beats back then, but Ivanhoe and Brunswick we definitely played in finals, and likewise Broady. But I remember even a final, we beat Ivanhoe in a group final at Preston where we just sort of struggled to get over the 200 mark, and fortunately, Brents and I, it was probably one of my highlights, I guess, from a batting perspective, was hanging around and being nuisance at the end of an innings and getting us from about 175 to 205 or thereabouts. And the next day we rolled Ivanhoe for 201. So, and they had a quality team. I mean, they had Andrew Wildsmith and Kevin Wicello and Grant Jordan, and like Steve said, I mean, they'd given us a hiding a few times, so it was good payback.
Scotty, you were a tremendous gloveman. I always remember you. You had very, very soft hands and excellent footwork. To play at the level you did, including at district cricket, which we'll talk about later, Premier Cricket. What was the secret of your keeping?
Oh, I think I used to put a fair bit of time and effort into training. So we had, I don't know if you recall yourself, Lee, I'm sure Nort would. We used to have like one of those little, flat boards, that the keepers would go off and use at training, which had that sort of irregular, surface to it. And you'd go off in pairs, and one of you would be pelting balls off that in different directions. And so at training, you'd try and simulate as best you could. I mean, I used to hate nothing more than standing at a stump and catching throws in from guys, just doing catching practice. I mean, anyone could do that, I guess. And then also try and get into the back of the nets, as uncomfortable as it could be at training with guys coming off about 16 yards. It did help because, your footwork was terribly important. If I think back over my ones keeping, we had some good quality bowlers where I got a few stumpings over the journey with not only our spinners but the occasional seam bowler as well. And footwork, of course, and keeping the gloves inside your body and letting it come to you. But they're again a bit like what Steve said, cliches.
Now, both of you went and played district or Premier Cricket at different times. Steve, you went down, I suppose, when you're right at your peak, had 4 years with North. Did you come back a much better player to Preston after that 4 years?
I did. And I mean, I'd had a great year. That last year at Preston, before I left, was my best year. I think I was saying to Scott the other. I remember I'd made 3 50-plus scores. I think I had 200 runs after the first 3 games or something, and I got picked and played in the sub-district representative team. And so, a lot of good things happened. I was seeing the ball like a watermelon that year. And again, I think all that sort of coaching that I'd been getting and the development that I had under Killer and had helped me along. And then, I think that maybe just had my name, it started to pop up on people's, and I got a call unexpectedly. I didn't proactively go looking to play district cricket. I just got a call from North Melbourne. I think I was 26 at the time. And it was a big call to make. It was a big decision. I sweated on it a lot. But I'm glad I went and my cricket developed even further. I got better. District cricket for me and that experience, I came back a better player. But North Melbourne never had the club atmosphere that Preston had. I found district cricket to be, it was still fun and plenty of characters, and I loved it. But it always missed that. I always lacked that sort of key ingredient of that real club feel. It was always it was almost counterbalanced by more of a competitive feel. There's a bit more individualism in district cricket. But I played 4 years there. I played 3 years in the ones, and then I played the 4th year I was there. I might have played a couple of ones games and a fair bit of seconds, and then I thought, no, it's time to go back and win a premiership at Preston.
And Scotty, you were at the end of your career almost effectively when you got recruited by Northcote. You played 8 games down there, subbing in for Darren Berry, so great honour for you at the finish of your career.
Oh, no, my word, absolutely, Lee. And I guess a nice little way to sort of put a full stop on things. I was very fortunate, I think, after our success in the championship final that Ronnie Brents had left the club, obviously, a few years earlier from Preston and been the secretary at Northcote. In this particular year, their regular seconds keeper, Darren Spence, had a serious back injury and couldn't keep and wasn't playing at all, and they wanted somebody who could hold their own without sort of having to go and put their real young sort of fresh keeper from the thirds or one of their juniors into the fire. So they chose me instead. But I loved it because they're a professional outfit. I mean, they had some state cricketers. I mean, I was keeping wickets to David Saker, the McGinty's, and various others, but Sakes in particular, he was sharp. And plus the wickets, the wickets so hard and fast. And I put my hand on my heart and say my keeping was very much up to scratch, and I worked hard at it, and I was fit that year, very fit. I didn't quite cope with the batting, but I certainly coped with the keeping. And I was very thankful for the opportunity. And Grant Gardner was the captain coach, and I knew Grant from, junior days, I guess, to some degree. And Gerard Dowling, one of the Preston's favourite sons from the early days, was at the tail end of his district career. So I had the great fortune to play some games with him. And so whenever Chuck went off to state duties, I got the call up and I loved it.
And then in '96, just before you went down there, you were awarded life membership, which was fantastic. And Steve, you just sort of missed out. But yep. I think importantly, your parents who were with you from day one, I sort of have that sort of recollection. And they stayed even after you guys stopped playing for a while, and made a fantastic contribution around the club, and were awarded life membership in 2003. So a great family tradition, following the Norrises and the Duggans and a few others to have multiple life members from the one family. Your reflections on Preston after, you've been retired now quite a while, but looking back, what are your thoughts?
For me, it's just that whole club, atmosphere, and it was never about first 11 or second 11. It was about the whole club. Going to training was a great learning experience. Again, I think I don't. I put a lot of weight on the learning that I got there about how to, you develop social skills and how to interact with people of different makes and types. And, there was people who were doing office jobs, people in management roles, people who were plumbers. And there's just all sorts of characters, just like real, and Steve Hillam, Knackers, Flapper, Grobbo. Sure, there's the playing day stuff, but it's more about the club atmosphere. And we used to have lots of great social events, trots nights and fancy dress parties and all sorts of things. And everyone would get along with their partners, and of course all the wives and the ladies committee and various things. It was a very inclusive club. And and you mentioned mum and dad there before, that they'd love sitting in that social room just at the end of a day's play. Mum's done her scorebook, and she's finished with that. Dad and they'd love to sit around and talk with all the characters as well. They really got so much enjoyment from it. So that's what I remember. They're the fond memories I have.
The other spin-off was there were a lot of social club identities, guys that were just perched at the bar. I remember Ron and Eddie, as familiar faces. I can still picture them now. And they'd be running a Thursday night, meat raffle or something, and various others. And apologies for not being able to remember all their names, but just even guys that were affiliated with the football club who, through the off-season, would just drink at the social club, be perched at the bar, and as a direct result of that, would mingle with the cricketers.
Well, guys, that's been a wonderful conversation. Learned so much from you, and to reflect on some of my memories of you guys, just absolutely fantastic. I know as an old bloke, I used to sit there and watch the scores appear in the paper every week and see the name Harvy, and always used to put a smile on my face. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee.